Welcome, everybody, to our 10th episode of Spilling the Spirituality. Number 10. Yay, us, right, Rob?
Where seriously, where have the last 10 weeks gone? It seems like we were just starting on this redesigned route, and it's been so much fun. And I've had some great I mean, our we've been real on this show, so
Yes, we
the
definitely,
those
we
conversations were
definitely
not.
spilled some tea for
Yeah,
sure, for
totally. Which it's
sure.
great. It's like y'all have a therapy session right there,
Yes.
and
And
are open to it.
yes. So today, we're going to have a more fun, lighthearted episode. Today is all about spirituality in pop culture and taking a look at the kinds of things that influence us to evolve a little more inside our pop culture. Right, Rob? What do you think about
Yes.
that?
So like I'm a pop culture guy. Like I have been like when I was a kid, I wanted to be an Entertainment Tonight reporter and I would while we never bought the magazines, I would always like stand there when my parents were in line at the grocery store and like look at all the covers of all the People and Us Weekly and all those things. So I think when I started to become more attuned to my own spirituality and I saw a couple of, significant pieces of media that, or content, as the kids say, at the time that really I started to see this, this kind of weaving of, these spiritual concepts in our day to day living. And it's always like thrilled me. Some days it's a little more obvious. I remember when we were kids, there was a show. Do you remember that show, Touched by an Angel? With
Yeah.
Ella
Michael
Lewis,
Landon?
Michael Landon,
Yeah.
yes. So, that was amazing because someone made a show about something that was very spiritually focused, and it was with well-known people. And I thought it was awesome that they would create that kind of content. But I think more subtly, other things in my life have influenced me just in how I'm looking at the world and supporting how I see spirituality in the world. So I want to talk about some stuff going on recently, but like when back, maybe 20 years ago, of course, The Matrix was one of those mainstream movies that hit people like Storm. The Matrix One, arguably the best, one of the best movies ever made in general, and introduced this idea of, kind of um, through science fiction, the idea of spirituality and this idea that we could be living in two different places and we are going to choose, the authenticity of how we live, and why we're doing it was a major theme. And it was mind blowing because I think people that were watching that movie, and I was just in this kind of, I'd been, I feel, awake for a while, but this was really cementing things because here it was in pop culture. They were saying things that were blowing my mind, not because they were new concepts, but in my heart, they resonated deeply with me. And I think that for me is the testament of how pop culture experiences have supported
Yeah.
my
Can
spirit.
can we talk about this movie for a few minutes?
Yes, yes, yeah,
Because
let's do it
this
because
is
it's a great one.
this is an incredible movie. I'm not into fighting movies. I saw this movie by mistake because my husband begged me to see it. We actually saw it in the theaters when it came out, which was God, the 90s.
Yeah, 90s, late 90s.
Yeah. And I didn't want to see it. I didn't want to see it, but it was so freaking deep. So if you've not seen this movie, see this movie. I feel like this is the sort of the Bible of spirituality, it's the wrong word to use, but new age movies.
Metaphysics, yeah.
Yeah, there's so much to unpack in the movies. And the thing that I liked the most about it was the whole idea that we're living in a matrix, that we are asleep to what is really going on, that we're not really, awakened to what life really is, that we're sort of being programmed and it kind of introduces that whole thing. And I've read lots of books about this later on. And so there's a lot of truth in those. The people that did that were the Wachowski. Well, now they're the Wachowski sisters. They used to
Yes,
be the
yes.
Wachowski brothers, and they are just incredible. The way they were able to put so much metaphysics in a fighting movie.
Yeah, and it was a thrilling movie. So you're along for the ride. You care about the hero. We find ourselves identifying with the with Neo, or Mr. Anderson as a character. Awakened. Once he's awake, he can't be unawake. Once he's awake, he can't ignore truths. And whatever the fighting is about, we know that the battle really was about him making a choice for how he was going to live once he had this new knowledge. And I think that especially in today's world where we feel like we are being subject to all these you know threats, existential threats, Neo, that hero, those characters represent the battle that has to be done, not against something else, but against our desire to remain asleep. And
It's
that's
so good. And
so
even the names are really powerful because I remember the girlfriend is Trinity.
Trinity. Yep.
Morpheus is the
Morpheus.
teacher, the wise teacher. Oh, what a fantastic movie. I see that movie over and over again and get more from it. But, just like The Matrix, I mean, then take a movie like The Truman Show. The
Yeah, you were telling me this. Like, I'm so thrilled we didn't talk about this before because because I think that's so great that that's a movie that made things awaken for you, or you saw the world differently or more spiritually because of that movie.
Yeah, I mean, I think I don't find as many movies like this in mainstream anymore. Mostly, all the stuff about spirituality, I feel like now is kind of coming through the superhero movies. There's a lot of that for sure. But I felt like there was a time because I think Truman Show also came out in the late 90s or
Yes, this is all the same era. Yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I feel like this was a time period where there were a lot of movies, also Eternal
Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind.
Mind. There were a lot of ones that were like this, but Truman Show, that was a Jim Carrey movie. Also really worth seeing,
And
like
a very applicable, even more today. Applicable
even
even more
more
today.
today. Also, the idea that we're sort of in this program because, like, here's this regular guy and he's living his life. And he starts to realize that the same people are always on the block when he's getting ready to leave for work. And some of the same situations are happening again and again, which is like kind of glitching for him. And then he starts to figure out that he is being watched. And I mean, I don't want to give away
Yeah, right.
too
Just
much
a
of
little bit.
this,
It's so
but
much. It is very much like The Matrix. I never ever thought about that before, but you are
yeah,
right. It's like,
it's
wait
like,
a
and
second.
he in the movie he awakens to this, and he wants to get out of the matrix or out of the program. And that really is what you and I are doing here. Is we're always trying to bust through and be authentic and be awakened because we notice in walking around in the world that a lot of people are sleeping and
Mhm.
sort of hypnotized, kind of walking through their life. So this was a movie when I saw it, it was so long ago and it was the beginning of my journey of spirituality. And I just remember thinking, oh my God, this feels so truthful to me.
Yeah, that's a great word. That is a great word, truthful. Um, this was a little more of a schlock movie, and it got horrible reviews, but it was a movie that my husband and I saw. We were with friends, and we were not together. We were just with a group of friends, and the movie was phenomenon with John Travolta and Kira Sedgwick.
Oh, yeah.
So, this movie was about a guy who, saw a flash of light in the sky and all of a sudden then had powers that were that were unexplainable. And I have to say, I think there's a point in the movie where it may or may not have been explained by something that was real, but like the whole town had to deal with, this wave that had to deal with this supernatural experience of this man. Was it real? Was it not? Did it require governmental involvement? Were they going to come get him because he now was like a weapon because he had these, powers, these superpowers? And, again, spoil, I don't want to spoil anything, but this power, has power, it had consequences for him. But for me, it was like, there was something there, but like you said, that spoke truth. And I remember, I'm getting all like teared up thinking about it. Like, first of all, Kira Sedgwick is just like one of the most luminous actresses on the planet. And so she and John Travolta have this beautiful relationship that as it evolves, it becomes even more and more beautiful. And so like, I am weeping at the end of this movie. And I don't even know why, but I remember, and the friends that we're with, like, are like, I don't get it. And the movie got horrible reviews. And, but Wade was like, totally got it. And this was kind of like the beginning of our like, this on the outside, this doesn't look like it's anything, but like, we're looking at this stuff. But I remember weeping, and the only words I could say was, somebody made a movie about it. Like, all I could think of was this whole team of people, producers, writers, and all these things, created this magic that spoke some truth to me. It felt so specific that, and when I would share this with other people, they would be like, I don't, that's whatever, that was dumb, it was stupid, or people just didn't get it, but I did. And so for me, that was like one of those, like, it was out there in the world, in pop culture. I felt it spoke a truth, and so it did speak a truth. And maybe people who made it thought that it was getting bigger than just whatever it ended up being about, but it spoke truth to me, and it allowed me to then see this in so many other experiences of content.
Yeah.
And so there's a beauty here. I feel like one of the reasons why you say they don't make movies like The Matrix anymore is because I do think they've mainstreamed some of this, which is wonderful. So, we both loved Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Oh my God, I'm just going to bring that up. We talk about that one because that one's like a movie people could watch now, and rent or whatever on demand. That movie, for me, there's so much to unpack with that movie, but one of the things that I like is that everything is really happening simultaneously.
Thank you.
And the idea that there is no time, and that we always look at time as such a linear thing, right? And it's just, every time, because that's something that I've tried to talk about to other people before. It's a very hard concept to understand. But when you see it in a movie like that, a mainstream movie, and you're just like, like, that was.
Yeah, because that's a hard concept. And I have to say, this is one area where the superhero movies, especially Marvel recently, because of the multiverse aspect of it, because those heroes, and I think DC Comics does this as well. They create these heroes that span. So, like for Spider-Verse, for instance. So you've got, in spoilers for anybody who hasn't seen the last one, but they had this big deal where all the Spider-Men, Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield and Tom Holland, all appear. They're all still who they were, like. But the fact is, they all existed and were Spider-Men in their own respective universes. For whatever you think about the blockbuster thing, this was also a way of kind of showing people who might think everywhere is a little crazy, because it's so fun.
You have to definitely be very open when you watch that movie. Be alert. Don't watch it when you're tired, because it's a person's movie. And talking about portals and all the different existences that there are, and
but then it wraps up with the most simple, beautiful, kind of, it's like how I feel about all of this. Like, there's chaos or there seems to be chaos in how it's all orchestrated or how it's all created. But in the end, what is it about? Just everything comes back to love. And it's whatever craziness we create is coming back to a truth that is eternal. And I just think that's the most wonderful thing. I do think that's like, I wanted Matrix, what was it? What was the latest one called? Um,
Yeah.
Resurrection, which I heard Keanu Reeves say the wrong name when he was interviewing and catch himself. But the one thing that it did try to do, as it literally resurrected these characters, was to kind of make that point, which was, we were all going to find each other again, no matter what, which is
Right.
beautiful. But so other movies that have done this, did you ever see What Dreams May Come?
Oh, yes. Great
Like,
depiction of what the other side is like. That's that is actually, I think that's one of the most accurate. I mean, not that I,
no, right.
know for a fact, but it feels like it's one of the most accurate depictions
Agreed.
what it's like when you go to the other side. And actually, the book I found to be even infinitely better than the movie, actually.
Yeah, I like the movie because I liked the direction the movie took. Um, just visual. I just love the visuals. But again, there's a lot of darkness if we choose the darkness. Again, big themes and beautiful understanding. It's a little more poignant now that Robin Williams is not here. But again, like, these are big swings at spirituality, and they come alongside others. Contact, another one, highly recommend if you
Oh,
haven't seen
right.
Contact.
Right. That was Jodie Foster, right?
And Matthew McConaughey, and it's basically the discussion of science versus spirituality, and who in the end is the scientist, and who in the end has to have faith. I it's so, to see these things, for me it always was, and Hollywood made this, and 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 it hits me in a way that I weep and I don't know why. And I love that. And I feel like the bigger hand of things there, because maybe people who are involved knew it, or maybe they didn't, but I knew it when I saw it. So,
Right. It's like these movies, they have the ability to awaken people. I know when after we saw Everything Everywhere All at Once, my husband and I like went to dinner and talked for like 2 hours about this movie. And he's not generally someone who would be interested in metaphysical principles, but you just can't deny it when you watch a movie like that.
right.
And another movie I wanted to bring up that you can stream now that is on Disney, which was Soul. Did you
Oh,
see
yeah, yeah.
Soul? That was
Yes.
so good.
Yeah, again,
Um,
there's a point in that movie where I'm just weeping, just like heaving,
yeah.
ugly crying, because it's so beautiful.
Yeah,
Um,
again, another story about what it might be like on the other side when you
mhm.
cross over, and how we all have things that we're supposed to strive for and accomplish down here. It was very beautifully
Yeah,
done, I thought.
insightful. Inside Out is another Disney movie to Pixar that
Oh
is also, so
yeah,
if Soul is about the spirit, Inside Out is about what's going on in our heads, and
right.
honoring what we feel, our emotions.
How you need
So
dark as well as light. You need sadness as well
yes,
as happy.
and I feel like this is the way that people will discover this. So you can take your kid to see Inside Out or Soul, and perhaps see the world in a way that you didn't after you see it. And for me, that is the hope that
Yeah.
I know that I'm reaching for so many times, especially during days that it doesn't seem like there is. That it's not just that this thing exists, is that someone wrote it, so someone got it, and then other people illustrated it. Like, if it's an animation, like, there was a team of people that created this beauty, this moving experience. Up was another one,
Yeah.
which they just resonate with how they talk about life, and various stages of our life,
Yes.
and how everything
Time
everywhere
of
hit
grief.
because
Yeah.
yes, grief. Everything everywhere was particularly resonated with those of us of a certain generation who are looking at the world the way Michelle Yeoh's character was, like, oh,
Yeah.
I'm now stacking myself up and wondering what it all was. And uh,
And
when they're
how about, yeah, go ahead.
they're just rapid fire, right? So here they
Yeah,
come.
I mean, things just keep popping up for me.
Awesome.
Wait, what was that? Now I just lost track of
I'm
what the
sorry.
movie was going to be that I was going to say. Oh,
I'm
I don't know.
sorry. I
I
totally
can't
know the movie. You'll think
remember.
of it. You'll think of it.
It's going to come out. It was another Disney movie, though. Um,
So many of them. Zootopia was another one. They're teaching about our relationships with other people. Um, Up. What else? Toy Story. I mean, people have talked about, especially the third one, and about growing up and what it was like to
yeah,
leave those childhood experiences behind, but also take them
yeah.
with you.
I
You
just
know,
remembered my movie. It was Frozen. Frozen, which they've, even done a part two of that is so profoundly deep. Of course, the tagline is the mantra is let it go. Of the biggest song in Disney history, let it go. And in the sequel, I remember there's a lot of working with the elements, all of the different and wind and all of them. There was so much teaching in there, and that was a movie for little kids, because Soul I really feel like is pretty mature, and even
was.
Up is pretty mature, but Frozen was really created for young people. And while they're not necessarily understanding the deeper themes, the best part about these movies is that they create a conversation when they're over, and it's an opportunity to teach your kids on how to be in the moment, how to know that that their own power lies within them, how we
In the
come
case of Elsa, Elsa had a power that could have gone another direction for her. So she realized
right
that she had this, and using that power to help
instead of
and
hurt,
right,
right.
instead of hurt, and not be afraid of it. And frankly, maybe you're taking your kids or grandkids to those movies and you're not even thinking. You're just thinking this is that same cliche thing. But you know what? There are truths behind so many of what we say are kind of cliche or rote tropes in the world, which I think is just when you can absorb it or see it in Frozen or in. I mean, I encourage that I'm having this discussion because you can look at anything and see what's up. You can look at any wacky. You can look at The Simpsons, or you can look at South Park, and see the thread of what people are trying to communicate about how what they see as the ideal way of living, or what a way that they see as our hopeful way of living.
Yeah, for sure.
It's even in this, even if it's snarky, even if it's vulgar. South Park has a lot of very deep
Yeah.
messages and kind of implorements of society to think about these things that we can look at and laugh and be snarky about. But I think in the end, the guys that make that may sound like they're whatever bro types that are, but they're so insightful in how they create these characters and what I think they're trying to say with them in the end. Maybe they don't. Maybe they would never even admit it. But
Yeah. Yeah. And that brings me up to thinking about TV and like TV shows in general. On Netflix, there was a show called OA. Did you ever watch?
no, I have heard that. I used to love Battlestar Galactica. For again, I can't even go into how much spiritual that show was for me. But OA, I heard was like if you love Battlestar Galactica. So I think I might catch that.
Yeah.
There were like
I
two or three
mean,
seasons, right?
yeah, it's pretty complex, but it's really good. Where they're doing these energetic dances to sort of connect to the other side and higher level beings, and oh, it's so good. And then I was just thinking of another Wachowski sister movie. Did you or series? There was a series on Netflix called Sense8.
Sense8, no. So we started watching Sense8, but that is like gold standard from whenever streaming started. Like that show was
Yeah.
always considered
And
that.
that was all about, the how telepathy plays a part in everything, and how we're able to they were able to be in each other's stories and experiences without physically being together. I mean, these are things that I am sure we can do. We're just not open to the idea that we can do them. But
Right. But I mean, just think about the sensei thing. So like so you're a cast member on that show, you know what, the ability to, again, someone wrote this idea and then really kind of manifest it. And if you're an actor, you are then living as if it exists, you know, like what a great experience that
yeah.
we can do that. If you're looking for sitcoms, so The Good Place was the one for me that
Oh, I
really,
love that
I
one.
mean, I,
That's streaming on Netflix, so you guys can watch it there.
yes, it is like it became
Go ahead.
so beloved to me because it's cool, it's hilarious, and every time, because it's philosophy based, uh, it really gets you thinking, and then creates this, just, I don't know, it's masterful in how it made you feel.
Yeah, because the good place, the whole idea behind the good place is that when you die, you either get to go to the good place or you
Or
go to the
that place.
bad place. And so these people go to the good place, and it's all about enjoying all the good place, but then of course
Yeah,
they
there's a
get
twist, yeah.
to the bad place. So yeah, that's a really excellent series. It's really fun. And it's beautiful when they do put all these like great philosophical lessons inside a comedy.
And they
Because
make you think. I mean, you have to think about how you would live your life or how you are living your life.
right, right. Yeah. Yeah. Now we only have like 5 minutes left. What I was going to ask is if we could talk about maybe what spiritual movies have influenced you, like ones like I know for me, the Celestine Prophacy, that movie, which is great. And and that's really teaching how energy works and
Yes.
how to use energy in your life, and how everything is energetic.
Yeah, for
Um,
sure. Like, so I do think the book's better than the movie, but I love the movie because it
yeah,
might have brought people to the book.
yeah,
Um, uh, the one that was gold standard back in the day was What the Bleep Do We Know?
yeah.
With Marlee Matlin, and that's a lot like Everything Everywhere All at Once in many ways. You know, it presents these concepts, was considered, I think, a little fringe at the time, but it was still made and people still saw it. So
It did really well.
it did really well.
Yeah,
So
that's more science based for people who want like more of a that kind of explanation. For me, I didn't do great with that movie.
really,
It was like a little too technical for me. But then there's a movie. Who's the guy that did all the Jim Carrey movies? Um, was it called It or Life, or it was just one
oh
word.
yeah, yeah, it was I Am.
I am, of course.
Yes,
You should know that
yes.
one.
The one with the ring, the world. So that got me by surprise. I saw that. I didn't know what to expect, and I watched it. I think it's on Gaia, and it's also, I think, on YouTube. But wow, it was a beautiful movie. Oh my God, so
Yeah, and
beautiful.
we've talked in our broadcast before how I am are two of the most important words. And the premise of that movie was this guy was this famous director, gets in a terrible accident and has to sort of heal his body. And he realizes that he just doesn't want the hubbub of Hollywood anymore. And he starts to look for meaning in the world. And basically the end result was this movie about his journey, understanding who we are.
Mhm.
Great movie.
Yeah, great movie, and it's relatively recent too. So, but they're
Yeah,
coming out all the time, and I would love when this is our last show of this season, but for me, it's like seeing this in real life means that we're putting these principles that we talk about each week into practice. I'd love to do more of this. I got stuff to talk about on pop radio and commercials, and the fact is we ask for signs all the time, and in these movies, in the world around us. And I know that you talk about getting your spirit from nature. I get it, a lot of it from music as well. It's out there, so we can bring
everywhere,
this into
everywhere,
our
all at once.
all at once, right? Truly, Truly. So it's if we're open to getting the sign, hearing the message, sometimes we ask to hear it, sometimes we don't, but it's where we choose to see it.
Yeah. And so whenever you're doing, whether you're listening to music, whether you're walking in nature, whether you're watching a cartoon with your children, pay attention and ask yourself, what is this here to teach me?
Yes,
Because
yes.
everything is really here for our learning. And it's so wonderful because it's not only is it here for our higher learning, we also get entertained
Right,
at
it's
the same
entertainment.
time.
Ingenious.
So how wonderful is that? Okay, so as we close up, I just want to say that I will make sure that I list all of the movies that we just talked about online so that you guys can take a look and, check them out.
Check them out.
Let us know if there are movies or shows that you have watched that
Yes.
have made a difference in your spiritual life. Would love to hear that. And
I mean, yeah, because it could be anything. Like, I got some deep messages from Clueless, because it was such a brilliant movie back in the day. So, Alicia Silverstone and the character of Cher, they had a lot of truths to speak in that movie. So it could be anything that you have received kind of a spiritual truth from.
great. Anything that leads you to the understanding that love is really all that matters when it comes down to it. So, yeah, I guess that's it, unless you have anything else to add.
No, what a blast. What a blast.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for joining us.
Like
Like
and
and subscribe. Do all
subscribe.
those things. Get to involved in the
Yeah. And
conversation.
we're
Leave us
gonna take
messages.
yeah, we're gonna take a little bit of a break and we'll come back with another series and stay tuned.
Looking forward to it.